But this retired firefighter also trying to battle the flames. All he had, though, was a hose and a couple of fire extinguishers. And as you can see, it clearly was not enough to get this fire under control. I have what's considered a lethal dose right here in this bottle. We were just 400 feet away from an RV camp when we found this camelback that was once filled with marijuana. She said she had no idea she was connected to what she saw in these cards. Things are looking pretty good. I want to give you guys a perspective of what they're looking at right now. He even put a motion activated doorbell with a camera on it so he can take a good look at the suspect and call police. Yeah, he got burned twice, Katie. Once when he crossed that legal line, pulled out a gun and pulled that trigger. What everyone's used to seeing when they think about Arizona's border fence is that very tall metal fence, but this is actually the reality. And Katie has absolutely no regrets, and he tells me he was just fighting for people's freedom. And now, as a U.S. Army veteran, he feels betrayed by his own country. Take a look at this front yard. You can see a child's toy lying right there on that table. This house was among 7 that were busted by the feds for this huge drug operation, and the scene right here at 55th Avenue in Encanto, so much different from what it was this morning. Talk about an unnerving wake-up call.
I'd come outside and there's police and SWAT.
DEA agents raided the place searching for meth.
With all the kids playing outside and just being so cute, I would have never even thought, ever.
A 6-month investigation revealing many of those children were being dropped off to the woman who lives there, running an unlicensed daycare. When we arrived, she and many of those kids were inside the home across the street. Did she know that meth was being sold inside the house with children inside? No. We also tried getting answers from the guy who got arrested. Hey, do you know why you're getting arrested today? This home was just one of 7 houses busted. The second place just 10 minutes away near 59th Avenue in Glendale. 3 pounds of meth, body armor, guns, and grenades were found inside. The feds arresting this guy who was proud to get his mug on TV. What are you getting arrested for?
For being a badass.
He's already been to prison twice.
Something like that.
Agents say he too was running meth across the valley. More drugs and weapons found in 5 other locations, 5 total arrests in this roundup, making neighbors happy.
I'm very glad that they busted them. Just any type of trafficking is not okay, and it'll lead to murder, it'll lead to theft.
Now, since this investigation started back in November, agents have seized more than 90 pounds of meth. That has a street value of anywhere between $2 to $3 million. And I'm telling you right now, Steve, that these drugs were going all over the U.S. David Bowers not only fighting off the bad guy, but this retired firefighter also trying to battle the flames. All he had, though, was a hose and a couple of fire extinguishers. And as you can see, it clearly was not enough to get this fire under control.
See, I've got just one entrance into the house, and that's that back door.
David Bowers telling us firsthand how things unfolded early Thursday morning.
He came through this breezeway, turned the corner, and that's when I saw him. And he had a torch about this long with about that much fire on it. And by the time I got from that bedroom into there, he was already kneeling on the living room floor, moving around the torch, lighting the carpeting on the fire.
Bowers went in to get his gun, and that's when the masked arsonist came at him.
Away from me, we were scuffling on the floor, and he says, "Aren't you concerned about the fire?" And I wasn't going to give up that gun.
Bowers knew he had to pull the trigger. And how many times did you pull that trigger yesterday?
I think I emptied the gun. I shot him once in the house, and then I think 5 times going across the field.
The suspect ran off, discovered just a few blocks away. Bowers says he's never met the suspect and says the sheriff's office told him that the man just got out of jail a few weeks ago, which makes him think he was targeted.
I'm sure that it's a contract hit. Somebody wants the property.
And as he looks through everything that he's lost, he says he's not mad at the bad guy, but his heart hurts for Steve Zashevsky.
I just hope that the day that they bring that guy to trial, they remind the jurors how horrible it is to die in fire. Think about Steve dying in that fire. That's all I have to say.
Now, at last check, the suspect who was shot, he is still in critical condition. MCSO investigators, they were on scene again today. They are not releasing that suspect's name or possible motive, but we will continue to ask for updates on this story. Back to you guys.
First started out as a he said, she said situation. We tried to get both sides, but couldn't get the answers. We're not going to identify the man involved in this case because he has not been charged and police are still investigating.
We used to go all over in that car. I had a lot of memories from it.
But for the last few years, this 1969 Rolls-Royce has been out of commission, so its owner decided it might be used to help others.
I wanted to give it away as a donation so somebody could bid on it, and then the money they received, they could help people.
So she thought she found the perfect person to help get her car donated.
Because he came to jumpstart my other car.
The man came from a Valley Roadside Assistance Company, and she says he couldn't take his eyes off her 1969 Classic.
And he was very interested, and he said, he was with a group of people and they gave cars to donations all the time.
But when she found out the Veterans Charity never received the car and the man she trusted wouldn't get her proof of the donation, she called the police.
Well, the cops went over to see him. And he said that I gave it to him. I said, "Are you kidding?"
We went to get his side of the story and tracked him down.
Do you have any comments about the Rolls-Royce?
I don't even know what.
Sorry, I just talked to you on the phone.
He told me he didn't know what I was talking about, but we did some digging and found these pictures of the victim's 1969 Rolls-Royce on Facebook.
That's it. That's the license number.
This picture taken right in front of her home, the caption reading, "Estate sale, best offer, $10,000.
Oh, that's terrible. That makes me shiver.
Then more pictures taken in front of the man's house, one looking for potential buyers, the other with comments stating it was sold.
I think he ought to go to jail. If that guy's listening tonight, he knows he's lying, and I know he's lying, and I hope he gets caught.
Now, we did some digging into the man's criminal history. He does have past convictions, including fraud, theft, and aggravated assault. We have handed over those pictures to Phoenix PD, and they are going to be investigating.
I'm just north of the I-8 and west of Casa Grande in one of the most dangerous parts of the desert. This is a narcotics hotbed, and the evidence of this drug war trickling right into Arizona is everywhere. We were just 400 feet away from an RV camp when we found this camelback that was once filled with marijuana, and it was the drugs inside that is causing these cartel groups to fight each other, and they are out to kill. It's a warning people like Kurt take seriously.
A lot of people don't even realize it, what's going on 100 yards from them.
He's armed.
This is AR-15.
And ready to go, this Florida native came specifically to this modern-day Silk Road to patrol.
You know, the last time I looked, it was the United States, and you know, if there's a problem here, there's a problem everywhere.
He says he's not surprised the cartel groups are fighting each other.
I think when you're, you know, dealing with that much money that they're working with, there's always somebody that's going to try to rip somebody else off, I guess.
Since March, we're told there have been 3 separate incidents in the dangerous I-8 corridor where 2 people were shot. Pinal County Sheriff Paul Babiou says assassins are being hired to escort loads like this one, caught on camera in 2011, and it's important to be on the lookout.
You just don't know, you know, I mean, it's one of those things, you'll be walking out here in the desert and all of a sudden you see somebody. It's a big area, but those things happen.
And you don't know their intent. Sheriff Paul Babiou says oftentimes these groups are just fighting each other, but you never know, so you always want to be armed if you're going to come out here into the desert. You also want to stay in an area where you do have cell phone service, just in case you get caught in the crossfire. You can always call for help. In Pinal County, Navideh Forghani, ABC 15 News. The bad guy cleaned him out in December, walking away with $7,000 worth of stuff. So he installed some security cameras. He even put a motion-activated doorbell with a camera on it so he can take a good look at the suspect and call police. When Kevin Quake saw this guy at his front door, he knew what was up.
I couldn't dial 911 fast enough.
Corey Brown seems to gravitate to Quake's home.
What is it with this guy, and what does he want with my house? This is the 3rd time.
The cameras watching Brown's every move didn't seem to bother him. You could see him ring the doorbell, then run away before coming back and throwing a brick into the kitchen window. Stanley thinks his 3-year-old pit bull is what caused the bad guy to give up.
I think that's what ultimately deterred him.
The added security doesn't shake that violating feeling, knowing that Brown's been inside his home.
Yeah, it messes with your mind a little bit.
Quake gives a lot of credit to this high-tech doorbell.
When somebody motion activates or they physically push the doorbell, either one, it notifies me wherever I'm at.
The hidden camera even watching us as we walked into Quake's home.
Hi, nice to meet you.
And it's that clear image that helps police get Brown off the street.
They had this guy arrested in less than an hour. We don't need a guy like this out burglarizing homes, because I'm not the only victim here. I'm not the only house this guy's gone to. He's got quite a record.
In addition to the security cameras, the suspect was actually out on release for other burglaries he's accused of committing and was wearing an ankle monitor, which places him right here at this home at the time he tried to break in. In Phoenix, Navideh Forghani, ABC 15 News. Yeah, he got burned twice, Katie. Once when he crossed that legal line, pulled out a gun, and pulled that trigger. But then he posted all about it on Facebook, leading police right to him.
I'm not a criminal.
John Haig out of jail facing some pretty serious charges after dashcam video shows him pointing a gun at a U-Haul and pulling the trigger. And hearing that gun go off was just too much for this man to handle.
I was like, get me off the road.
But this video is only the tail end of the story. Haig says he was at the Walgreens at Dobson and Warner when he saw 2 men in a U-Haul take off.
Well, I watched the guys running out and she's holding her face and phone. And I'm like, did you just get robbed? She said yes.
So Haig went after them.
I wanted to be a hero.
He saw the chance to save the day, a chance at getting the bad guys as he chased after them in his car.
I had good intentions and I meant the best and I meant to disable the vehicle.
But he pulled his gun and fired at this very busy intersection.
After I shoot, I just like all flashed and I'm like, oh God, what the hell did I just do?
That bullet could have hurt someone driving by.
And I don't know what I would have done if that would have happened. There's no words.
And while he admits taking the law into his own hands can be a bad idea, he hopes more people at least speak up.
Most people are scared to say people nowadays because they're in fear of more or less not what's going to happen to the people, but what's going to happen to them for saving them. And that's not cool. I mean, that's why we get a lot more crime, you know what I mean? Because everybody's so scared to save people.
Mistake that Haig came clean about is that he never called the cops and he did leave the scene, so he won't be doing that again. And just to be clear, that robbery that he thought he was trying to stop was actually 2 people shoplifting. We are still working to learn more about the people who were shoplifting. Back to you guys.
It's tempting people.
I have what's considered a lethal dose right here in this bottle. All it takes is a few small grains and it could cause some serious damage. So this is a very serious warning tonight to anyone who comes into contact with drugs laced with fentanyl. It's coming in by the loads, and if this stuff isn't seized and taken to the DEA drug warehouse, it's out on the streets.
And these things are killing people left and right.
Doug Coleman, head of the DEA in Arizona, is talking about heroin.
I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better.
The cartels upping their game.
Well, they're going to spice it up. Fentanyl is the spice to that heroin product.
Heroin-laced fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin, and it comes in so many forms. The newest version, W18, is 10,000 times stronger. That spiced-up version can be found in meth and cocaine as well.
These are drugs that are so powerful that if you get them on your skin, they can cause an overdose.
Even mixing it, like in this simulation, is dangerous.
That cloud, if you inhale it, that cloud will kill you if it's fentanyl.
What's even scarier, you don't even know if the drug is laced. Agents got their hands on this white powder today. The only way to keep them safe, these white suits as they test the drug to see if it contains fentanyl. Tests revealing this batch was 4 million doses of lethal fentanyl. So DEA is warning all law enforcement.
So we have to treat all of it as if it could possibly be laced.
But Doug Coleman's message, not just for the police, but for the users, telling them their next hit could be their last.
We even want the addicts that are using these drugs to realize if it's laced with fentanyl and you take too much of it, you're going to die.
The DEA says addiction to prescription pain meds is where this problem starts. In 2014, 5.2 million prescriptions for painkillers were written right here in Arizona, and Director Coleman says that until that problem is addressed, this heroin issue will not go away. In Tucson, Navideh Forghani, ABC 15 News. Very incredible. In fact, she tells me that when she reads these cards, she can get an idea of a timeline of when things will happen, even provide a description of the people involved. But she said she had no idea she was connected to what she saw in these cards. Was what happened in this place steeped with the supernatural predicted a year ago. Araceli Rios says she never thought it would be her. Earlier this month, Rios was doing what she does every day, predicting the futures of people who are desperately searching for answers. But when this man showed up with a friend, she had a feeling something was wrong. She says they came here to read cards. But the second they came into her card reading room, this psychic says Ariel Acedo pointed a semi-automatic handgun to her head demanding money. She says she was scared, so she gave them what he wanted and asked him not to hurt her. When her tiny dog distracted the accused robbers, she made a run for it. She tells me she ran outside and saw a car, and inside was a former client, so she thought she could get help. But says that woman in the car just laughed, and she tells me that's when she remembered doing readings for both the bad guy and his getaway driver, telling them both a light-skinned woman would be pressing charges against them. But what she did not know at the time, that victim was her. Adding she's thankful to be alive. And there is one more twist in this crazy story. Rios tells me she does readings on herself, and she actually predicted that she was going to be losing money, but she never thought it was going to be during an armed robbery. Katie?